Hey, what's up, guys? I've gotten a lot of comments in the past saying I talk too much in my reviews. Just get down to the brass tacks, man. You know, we don't need to hear about this, that, and the other thing. Just tell me about the knife. That's why I clicked on the video. So, yeah, it's a pretty common comment I get. You talk way too much. I didn't need to watch a 20-minute video about something I could have learned in about 30 seconds. So here's what I'm going to do. For those people who just don't have the time, I'm going to start with a short version of this review, and then after that I will continue the video with the long version. Alright, so here's the short version. Get ready for it. Ready? Okay. Hey, what's up, guys? This is going to be a knife review on this knife. It's a custom knife by Three Sisters Forge, and it's called the CCT, Credit Card Tactical. It's a very small knife. It is 4.5 inches long. It has a 2-inch blade, which is hollow ground, 440C stainless. And the handle scales, or I should say both handles itself, are titanium. It's a frame lock knife. It's very smooth, tight tolerances, nice and sharp. And I like it. Go get one. They're 200 bucks. Alright, so that's my short version. You guys like that? I mean, I can do that all the time if you like, but I'm willing to bet that a lot of people like just a little bit slower paced, more personality, more opinions, more detailed review. Now, that being said, I understand not everyone has a half an hour to watch a knife review, and that's fine. I get that. You know, and some older videos that I made, I've watched and I go, Jesus, just get on with it. You know, and that's fine. We're all human. I'm no different. I'm not a robot. I make mistakes and I do have my flaws. But I just want to make a point there in that that's pretty much what this review is going to be about. But for people who happen to like the details, and you know, I think there's a great amount of people on YouTube who basically are on here to entertain themselves and you know, waste some time. You know, it's not like you have something to do, but you're putting it off because you have to be on YouTube. It's usually the other way around. You've done what you've had to do, and now you're sitting around doing nothing, so you hop on YouTube. So how I see it is, you know, most people here have the time to watch it. But, you know, I get it. Sometimes you only have 5 minutes to kill, or 10 minutes. You don't always have a half an hour to sit down or, you know, watch a YouTube video like it's a movie. But anyway, just wanted to kind of show you the short version there. I'm not going to do this with every review. I just want to make a point to anyone who says I talk too much. And I agree, I do talk too much, but sometimes it's just needed. Sometimes I make a 10-minute video and that's it. And other times I can easily talk for 2 or 3 hours about a knife. Of course, I'll never make a 2 or 3 hour knife review. But anyway, here's the real version, my version. This is just, look, I try to set an atmosphere of you being in the room with me and just hanging out and talking. That's all it is. It's nothing more, nothing less. I'm not trying to, you know, have a presence like you're a student in a classroom. It's not like that. That's boring to me, you know, but I don't like them being so short that you don't really get my opinion. I think what a quality review is a healthy combination of opinion and fact. Okay, this has titanium handles. That's not my opinion. That's a fact. These handles are adequately aggressive, you know, as far as the texture. That's an opinion. You know, it's got a thumb stud on one side. The thumb stud works. The thumb stud. Be nice if I can talk, right? The thumb stud works fine. That's an opinion. You know, it's a combination of both. You don't want a video that's just opinions, but you don't want a video that's just facts. You want a combination of both. That's what I feel makes a good review of any product. But anyway, let's just get into it. Actually, before I get into it, of course, can't just do a review, right? There's got to be something else. I want to talk about copies, counterfeits, and replicas, okay? Now, those kind of sound like the same thing, but they're not. I consider replicas and counterfeits being the same word, whereas a copy is completely different. A copy is something that has similarities. A counterfeit or replica is an identical version of something. It's a product that's trying to imitate something else identically. Okay. The reason I bring this up is because I know it's going to be in the comments. If you look at this knife looks like a very popular knife that's out there. Okay, I'll go ahead and say it. The Boker Twiddle Fingers. The Boker Twiddle Fingers. The Boker, I had a blank. Subcom, that's what it is. Yeah, that's right. No editing in this one, by the way. I don't care how many mistakes I make. The Boker Subcom, okay? Looks like it. And I know someone's going to say that, oh, they ripped off the Subcom. Well, the question is, does this look like a Boker Subcom, or does a Boker Subcom look like this? Because I don't know what came first. So you have kind of a chicken and egg situation going on here. The Boker Subcom was designed by Chad Los Banos. Very ethnic flair. Oh, good Shad. Shad Los Banos. Anyway, he makes some really cool knife designs. I don't know if he designed his Subcom after this already existed, or if perhaps that existed first and then this came out. I don't know. I don't care. Honestly, I really don't care. I don't like getting caught up in the politics of knife stuff. There's certainly tons of drama. You'll find that on the forums. And I guarantee you, I have not checked, but I almost can promise that there's topics like this on the forums already, that they're copies. I think it's a similar design in that they're both short, stubby, wide knives. They're both considered credit card knives, which I'll talk about again. That's a separate issue. Because I disagree. I don't think this is a credit card knife. That's just not my idea of what a credit card knife is. However, they're awesome money clip knives. Fantastic. But anyway, there's similarities. They're both short, fat, stubby. They're both, similar blade shapes and styles. Okay, at least to the original Subcom. But they're not the same knife. All right, now, if you were to say that this is the same knife as a Boker Subcom, then, I don't know, a Spyderco Endura is the same knife as a Benjamin Griptilian. Why? Because they're both, medium-sized folding knives. They both have a handle. They both have a pivot screw. They both have a blade. I mean, that's maybe a very general example. But if you look at the knife community as a whole, right, there are thousands of knives that look like other knives, okay, whether it's purposeful or on accident. But think about it. How many designs can you really come up with? Eventually, you're going to have similarities. Now, some people would argue that, imitation is the best form of flattery. That, hey, if you are having your product imitated, it's because you did something right and other people want it. Now, that's fine. Imitation is okay, but to an extent. If it is an identical copy, then I don't like that and I don't support that because of the fact that you're not giving the original creator or designer the credit that's due to them. Okay? Now, of course, this may seem contradictory because I've shown videos on counterfeits that I've purchased myself. And that was not to say, endorse counterfeits. That was just for educational purposes as well as my own entertainment because I think it's hilarious how crappy the quality is on some of these fakes. But that's just me. So anyway, I just want to get this issue out of the way, on the table. It's out in the open. I don't know which came first. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I will tell you from my personal opinion and from my experience in owning both knives. Well, I don't own this one. It's on loan. By the way, Sue, thank you very much. She's SP Silvgo is her name here, and you've seen a couple of the knives she lent me before. So awesome. I want to get this review out so I can get it back out the door to her because she's missing it. And she should have her little baby and fondle it and flick it out and have fun. It's her knife. But thank you, Sue. I'm going to get this out the door ASAP for you. But, I don't care. What was I going to say? I don't care. I get so sidetracked sometimes. It is ridiculous. So thank you for putting up with me, by the way. There really should be more complaining than there is. Anyway, what I was saying is that from my personal experience and my opinion, this is far better than a Boker Subcom in many different aspects, okay? The quality, the fit and finish, that's what you get with a custom knife, period. You get the hands-on detail, the tolerances, the time and effort it takes to build a very high-quality knife. When you have a production knife, it's different. It's on a production line. There's thousands of them going down a track. And, materials aren't everything either. And that's a big difference, I think, between a good custom knife and, a decent production knife. Sometimes they use the exact same materials. You see things like titanium, G10, micarta. They're used both in production and custom knives. Just because a knife has a titanium on it and it's custom doesn't mean that it's so expensive because it's titanium. What you're really paying for is the maker's time. It's like anything else. They're doing a little piece of artwork for you, and it takes time. It's time consuming. All right, but with custom knives, you do generally get better tolerances and more attention to detail. Not always, but there's a general rule of thumb. And that's why the price tags are up there. Now, speaking of price tag, this is a $200 knife, okay? Now, I know some of you are already about to go click off the video. I don't need to watch this. I don't have 200 bucks for a little knife like that. Well, here's how I feel about it. If you own a Boker Subcom and you like the knife and you want to, say, get a better version of it, this is the one for you. Or if perhaps you're thinking about getting the Boker Subcom and you like the design, you like the overall look of it, the features that it may offer, but you want a very high quality knife, this one's for you. Spend the $200. And by the way, that's new, getting it direct from Three Sisters Forge. You can find them used. They're not that hard to find. And they're not one-offs. You know, there's plenty of these out there. It's a custom knife, but it's part of a model that the guy makes. So anyway, now on the flip side of that, if you like this design, but you don't have $200 to spend, but you still like to try the knife, definitely get yourself a Boker Subcom. It would be a very good second, example of this type of knife. Now, going back to the whole argument of which came first, who's copying who, doesn't matter, because I've seen knives just like this when I first started getting to knives when I was 9, 10 years old. So neither company, originated this idea. And you'll see that over and over and time again in the knife community, is these designs that are reappearing and you think they're copies, but they're not. And a lot of times when you think, because most people would watch this and they would say, yeah, this looks just like a Boker Subcom. Well, guess what? The Boker Subcom came out 20 years after a similar knife was designed. You know what I mean? Things are tweaked and things are changed slightly, but like I said, there's only so many designs you can really come up with a knife. So I don't think it's a big deal. It's what I would consider a moot point. So let's actually get started with the review now. What do you think about that? How much time have I spent talking already? Pretty ridiculous, huh? And you know what? Before I even get started with the review, because I love to just chat about nothingness, let's talk about a specific type of guy on YouTube. Okay? Let's call this guy Mr. X. Now, Mr. X would watch a video just like you're watching right now, and he would say, the first part of this video is bullcrap and it's a waste of time. So what Mr. X will do is he will post a comment and he will say something along the lines of, review starts at, and then he'll put a time in, 5 minutes and 50 seconds or whatever the case may be. Okay, this is Mr. X. This is his thing. Mr. X also is a first comment kind of guy. First comment, second comment, fifth comment, 306 viewer. That's what Mr. X is like. That's his personality, okay? Let's get to know Mr. X. So I will say to Mr. X that not only are you rude, but you're awesome. Okay, let me explain. You're rude in that assuming other people don't want to see what you didn't want to see. That's incredibly rude, okay? For that, you should be hit with a wet noodle. However, you are awesome at the same time, because there are people out there who really don't have the time to waste and listen to me babble. So it is helpful for what you do. You're both rude and helpful. It's a conundrum. I don't know what to make of you, Mr. X. The first comment thing can definitely go. No one likes that. But the whole review starts or video starts at such and such time, or best part of the video is such and such time. Totally your opinion. Absolutely rude, but awesome. Saving people time. So I hate you and I love you. Same time. Anyway, all right, let's really get the review started now. Mr. X will have already told you at this point in the video to start it right now. So here we go. This is a review of a beautiful little custom knife. It's made by Three Sisters Forge. It's called the CCT, which stands for Credit Card Tactical. Let me talk briefly about the credit card portion of the name. Okay, they consider this a credit card knife because of the fact that it's more wide and short, stout, thin. Okay, it's one of the criteria to have a credit card knife. I think this is a fantastic knife right off the bat. This is going to be a great review. I love this knife. However, to me, not a credit card knife. Not at all. All right, what I consider a credit card knife is a knife I can put in a credit card spot in my wallet and not have the thing, stick into my butt cheek when I'm sitting down. That's what I consider a credit card knife, okay? A good example of this would be, there's a lot of customs out there, but let's just say a Microtech card, okay? Fantastic example. Solid, thin piece of steel with cutouts, okay? The edge is usually sharp. Sometimes there's a cutout, and then they'll use that on the inside of the card, for the blade itself. But usually the other cutouts are just to make it more comfortable to hold. but it's literally the thickness of a credit card, the thickness of one of these handle scales. Okay, not this whole knife. It's not a folding knife, in my opinion. The credit card knife is just a very small, extremely flat, crude fixed blade, almost a shank, if you will. Only there's no tip usually. It's not very pointy. They're usually a blunted edge, but there's not a point on it, but it is sharpened. You know, you can have it scalpel sharp, but it's not something to stab with. It's something for utility, for emergency self-defense. I say emergency self-defense because, you know, how often are you really going to have time in a self-defense situation to take your wallet out, take your card out? You know, slim chance of that. I would say more or less an emergency utility blade. It's probably what it's going to get used for, or just showing off to your friends, which is fine. That's cool too. But anyway, yeah, I wouldn't really consider this a credit card knife. However, just like the Boker Subcom and many knives like it, this makes a fantastic money clip. Okay, a lot of guys like carrying a money clip. They like carrying a knife. All of a sudden, a little light bulb goes off in the old head, and they go, wait a minute, what am I doing carrying both these things? Why don't I just use a short, fat knife for a money clip? Ding, ding, ding. Great idea, man. And this one is an awesome, awesome money clip, particularly because it has this low riding pocket clip, okay, which I don't want to get into yet. I usually save that towards later of the review. So let's talk about specs for a little bit. It is a small knife. Okay, you can see it in my palm here. All right, it's got a 2-inch blade on it. Overall open, it's 4.5 inches. The blade is hollow ground 440C stainless. It's got kind of a bead blast / stone wash finish. I think they bead blast them first, then they probably tumble them a little bit. Of course, this one it's not brand new, it's just a little bit dirty. Also a nice stone wash finish on the back scale there. The handle scales are titanium. Okay, the top piece here are the presentation side, which, as I mentioned, if you're righty, that's most likely going to be the presentation side for most knives, because that's what most people are looking at. Now, lefties, of course, get the bum deal. They get to see the ugly side, the quote-unquote ugly side. But for most people, they get to see this, and this is where the presentation side is, okay? They have here a CNC machined scale, which is very, very reminiscent of a fingerprint to me. That's what it reminds me of. It adds a little bit of texture, okay? Most people don't hold their knife like this, but if you're holding it like this, the fingers that do wrap around, you do get provided texture by that, okay? It's not aggressive. It's nothing like, you know, a sharp or sharper G10 or anything like that, but it definitely gives you some grip, okay? What I like about this knife, well, there's a lot of things I like, but first of all, let's take a look at the hardware. We have some oversized Torx screws, okay? Look, this is a small knife. However, the Torx heads on these do accommodate the larger Torx bits, okay? Particularly, let's focus on the pivot screw. The pivot screw uses a size T15 Torx bit, okay? Now, what do I like about this most? Now, this doesn't pertain to me because I happen to be a knife nut. I happen to have a crap load of different Torx bits, okay? However, the average person does not usually have Torx bits. Now, if they do have Torx bits, they usually only have the larger ones that came in one of those like economy bit sets. If you get like, you know, a big 32 pack or 100 pack, you know, with a screwdriver, one of those things you get at Lowe's for like 20 or 30 bucks. They will generally have some Torx bits, but usually it's only a couple bits, like 3 or 4, and they're always the larger size. They never have the smaller Torx bits like the T8 or T9. It's just never like that. So the point of me bringing this up is that more people will be able to already have that tool to adjust their blade tension. Okay, I think that's a pro. Definitely. I would definitely go for larger Torx bits, okay? So that's pretty cool. A very subtle detail, by the way. But I'm into details. Another thing I like about this knife, let's go back to the pocket clip. Fantastic pocket clip on this, low riding. So basically, I don't have my fake pocket here, but if I use my sleeve on my shirt, let's put this up. Bear with me a second. I'm going to show you what this kind of looks like. It'll give you an idea what it's going to look like when it's clipped to your pants. And this is awkward doing with one hand. Just doesn't seem right. Okay, there we go. Okay, so when it's clipped to your pants, this is what you're looking at. Just the pocket clip. This could be anything. This could be a pen. In fact, it's even designed kind of like a pen clip. So no one's going to know you have a knife. Okay, extremely deep carry, which is awesome. However, it's easy to get to. It's very slick on the back side here. Okay, there's no grip underneath whatsoever. So there's enough tension on the clip where it's not going to fall out. It doesn't even get loose at all. But the problem I have with some deep carry clips is that they have been hard to get out in the past. This one's fine. This one, you know, it's snug on your pocket, but when you go to grab this, it comes out, you know, like silk. It's beautiful. Very nice. Good tension on this clip as well. Not too tight, not too loose. Nice and strong, didn't bend or anything. And like the biggest point is it didn't chew up my pants, which is absolutely awesome. You can see it does have a flow-through design. There's just a couple standoffs here. Actually, this is the stop pin, but just 2 standoffs. All right, so you don't have to worry about pocket lint and dust and stuff. You can just blow that out. You don't even need compressed air. You can just blow into it and, you know, fly away. So very easy to maintain and clean. It is a frame lock knife. Lockup is perfect on this. Maybe we'll make a separate video in the future about lockup with liner locks and frame locks. You'll hear something, some people will say it has an early lockup or a late lockup. We'll talk all about that in a whole different video. But this one I think is perfect. This is what I would prefer in a lockup on a frame lock. Okay, it is very sturdy. There's no play in any direction whatsoever. There is a swedge on this short, fat, stout little blade, which I love. I love swedges, full swedges, because most of the time on folders, by design, the swedge is exposed. So you don't want a sharpened swedge, it's gonna cut you in your pocket. Okay, there's very few folding knives that have the swedge completely in the handle. Great example would be the Applegate Fairbane folders, okay, by the Gerber versions. Fantastic for that if you do want a sharpened swedge, you know, or a double-edged folding knife. However, with most folding knives, like I said, it's an issue. You can't sharpen your swedge because it's always exposed. You can flick this knife out. It has a very good detent. If you listen to this close, it sounds like it's locking closed. Almost sounds the same as when you open it, it locks. Very strong detent. Now, what that means is that if you go to flick it out, it's going to flick out very fast. However, what I found with this one, because of its size, because of its design, it's hard to flick out for me, particularly where the thumb stud placement is. Now, if you look at this, it looks like it's off, like it should be there, and that's the OCD part of me, is I think visually, I like the thumb stud right there, but it changes the whole dynamic of how this opens, okay? Because picture the thumb stud, or look at the thumb stud in correlation with the pivot screw. Okay, imagine a circle, because that's what it is. It's rotating around a circle. Now, where it is right now, I think is the most functional spot for it. Aesthetically, I like it closer here. I would imagine that it'd be more comfortable holding it there, but also the shorter distance you have in between, the harder it's going to be to open. Okay, so I think the placement is fine. What I found is hard for me to flick out how I normally flick out, which is using the skin portion of the meat of my thumb. Okay, I found that just to be a little bit, well, of course now it works fine, but I found it a little difficult to flick it out that way. Yeah, making me a liar now, huh? There we go. That wasn't on purpose. But what I did find is that if you can't flick a knife out like that, usually if you tuck the nail behind it completely and then give it a little flick, it usually works fine. Okay, and it's super, super fast. However, when I first got this knife, I did that a couple times, and after I flicked it out, my thumb followed the line of travel here and slid right across that razor sharp edge. Okay, so I cut my thumb pretty bad. And it's been a while since I cut my thumb. So with this particular knife, I don't flick it out, I just open it slow, okay? I did carry this quite a bit. I did use it a little bit in EDC, but I had to go around and purposefully use this in testing for this review to talk about, because I just, as far as the timing was and where I was, what I was doing, I didn't get a whole lot of EDC use out of this. So like I said, I had to go out of my way to cut some stuff with it. But I have to say it performed well. It's hard working with such a short blade. Like I said, it's a 2-inch blade length. Now that's from the tip of the handle here to the tip of the actual edge. You'll see the sharpened portion. I talked this in the other videos. The sharpened portion on this one is very similar. Okay, it's almost right there. It's like just a hair, maybe a, I don't know, 1/32 of an inch difference between the blade length, how I measure it, and the cutting edge. It's been a sufficient cutting edge for a lot of things, but you will definitely come short in certain cutting tasks where you have to do 2 or 3 swipes to get through whatever you're trying to cut, as opposed to the advantage of a larger blade where you start from the heel and work all the way down, and it's one pass and then your cut's done. Okay, but that's going to be an inherent problem with all small knives. Not a big deal. I did find that the edge retention was great on this. 440C stainless. Sue sent this to me razor sharp, and I have not had to sharpen it whatsoever. All I did was strop it at the end of the day, each day that I carried it, and it's been fine. It had great edge retention, and it's still razor sharp, but I will strop it up again before it goes out the door. Let's see, what else can we talk about here? There is no blade markings, by the way. The only marking on this knife is the Three Sisters Forge Maker's Mark or logo. You can see right there. Overall, I really like the knife. I really think it's a fantastic knife. Price on this, as I mentioned, the short version in the beginning, is $200. Okay, I think that's well worth it. I think this is an entry-level custom knife. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, $200 is a lot of money. I got my Boker Subcom for, I don't know, 20, 30 bucks, and couldn't be happier. I'm happier than a pig in crap, you know? Why would I want to spend $200 for something that's exactly the same? Well, first off, it's not exactly the same. It is really completely different. The only thing that's similar is how it looks in its size. It's a similar design. It's nothing like the Boker, okay? But what I can tell you is that if you don't know anything about the custom knife industry, things are expensive. Like I said before, you're paying for someone's time and their craftsmanship and their service, really, more so than their product is their service, which results in a nice end product. But $200 for a custom Foley knife is not much at all. That's about the low end of what you're going to spend. The average custom folder, that's, you know, larger, maybe about 4 or 5 inches closed, you're looking to spend the same price you would for a brand new gun, a nice pistol. Anywhere from, say, $400 to $700. That would be an average price. Of course, there's custom folders that go for $100, and there's custom folders that sell for $12,000 or $13,000. Of course, the ones that sell for that much are definitely art pieces, okay? And most of those people who buy those are just collectors of all kinds of extravagant crap. I love nothing more than to be able to buy a $13,000 pocket knife and use it. Just like I said, if I ever got that gold, 24 karat gold Zippo, I'd definitely use the thing. I'd do tricks with it. It would make people crap in their pants. But that's just how I roll. Yeah, so $200 really, what my point is that it's not much, okay? Custom fixed blades are a whole different thing because you're basically taking a piece of steel. Most custom fixed blades are full tang. You're taking a piece of steel and then building a handle around it. It's very straightforward. When you're talking about folding knives, there's a lot of mechanics, there's a lot of science and mathematics behind it, okay? There's a lot of attention to detail and time tweaking, okay? You talk about moving parts, you got a blade, you got a handle, you got hardware, you got the standoffs here, all right? You have to make sure everything locks up fine. You have to make sure there's enough tension on your lock bar, which means your cut in the frame has to be the certain length, right? You have to grind down the top of the lock bar and the bottom of the tang so they line up perfectly. You got to make sure there's going to be enough tension. You don't want the thing, you know, falling open, but you don't want it so tight that you can't, you know, you struggle to open it. Everything is a fine tuning. It's like any other piece of machinery. It's just a more simple piece of machinery. So $200 for this, for the person's time and effort they put into this, I think is a steal. It's a great deal. And like I said, if you want to get into a custom knife for not a whole lot of money, you're talking about the price of an expensive production folder, albeit a very expensive production folder. I would say most expensive production folders are about 100 to 120. You know, they get a really nice one, but there's certainly ones out there by different companies that will cost you $200 or $250, where you can get into a custom knife for that price. So I think it's awesome. It's a fantastic knife. I think Sue's very lucky to own it, and she's going to be very happy to get it back very soon. But I just want to do a review on it. I think it's pretty cool. I believe this is my first custom knife review I've done on this channel. As you guys know, I mainly focus on folders, first of all, as opposed to fixed blades and swords and stuff like that. Folding knives are what I use most of my life. It's most practical. I've had a folder on me ever since I was 9 years old, and I will have a folder on me until the day I die. It's just become a part of my life, so that's what I focus on. More specifically, I focus on production folders purely because they're more affordable and more available. All right, some custom knives you can have to wait. You might go on a waiting list for 3 years before you get your knife. That sounds ridiculous, I know. If you don't get how it works, there are people who've paid for a custom knife and they've waited, 6 months, 8 months, a year, 15 months. The list, it goes on and on. Some people are that backed up. And it's a whole prestige thing too. Certain makers, you don't care how long it takes. You just want that knife from them. You don't care what's involved with trying to get one. It makes it a little bit more prestigious. That when you finally do get it, it's like holy crap. And then people like it and they admire it. You say, oh, where can I get one? And you laugh at them. You say you can't. You know, you're gonna have to wait 3 years. And they go, 3 years? What are you talking about? What if I offer a little extra money? Too bad, man. Get in line. That's the whole, like, the thing about it. It's pretty cool. But these knives are not gonna take 3 years to make. And like I said, it's pretty cool because it is a fully custom knife. However, you don't have to go on a waiting list for it. It is a model of custom knife that they make, and they don't have such variety that you're gonna have to wait forever to get one. Okay, you can hop online, and it's not gonna take too long. You can find these on the forums used. If you don't want to pay the full $200, you might get it for like, you know, 150, 160, somewhere around there. Really depends on the condition. But if you could find one, I think they're fantastic knives. It would make an excellent EDC knife. Not a... See, this is where things get fuzzy because I want to say not a defensive knife. However, anything that's sharp in your hand, if your life's in danger, is good. You know, it makes for a good weapon. Doesn't matter if you're talking about, you know, a 1/2-inch box cutting blade or, you know, a machete. If it's going to help you to save your life, then it's all good. It's just not an ideal defensive blade. Definitely a utility knife. But it'll work very hard as a utility knife, and it'll last a very, very long time if you take care of it. But I certainly like it. I think it's worth the money. So that is my longer version of my review. I hope you guys weren't too bothered by my babble. But, you know, if you're still watching the videos after a couple weeks or a couple months or a couple years, you really have a handle on what I'm about. And although I throw a few surprises and tricks in here and there, you kind of get what it is. And I think some of you guys do appreciate the fact that it is kind of nonchalant and it's not scripted. You know, I could make a more quote-unquote professional video, in my opinion, if I did have, say, talking notes. It does have a more professional presence about it. But what I think is cool about my reviews, I toot my own horn, but they're not all alike. I generally do the same thing in that I'll tell you how long the thing is and I'll tell you what it's made out of. But on one video, I may focus on the pocket clip for 20 minutes, you know, or not literally, but let's say I focus on the pocket clip for 5 minutes. Another knife review, I may not talk about the pocket clip at all. I may focus on the locking mechanism. So being off the cuff like that and not being scripted does offer something that's, I think, unique. Okay, but just remember, if you guys are going to do knife reviews for yourself or any product reviews whatsoever, state some facts that people want to know, okay, and state your opinions, your true, honest, you know, untainted opinions. You're not going to get any points by saying it's cool if it's not. If it's not comfortable in your hand, and holy crap, I just remembered something, so the review's not over yet. What do you think about that? If it's not comfortable in your hand, don't say it's comfortable. Don't say what you think people want to hear. Tell your honest to God opinions, because that's what people want. They don't want to hear you having a commercial, because then they're going to get the thing, they're not going to like it, and they're going to be upset at you. So anyway, I just reminded myself of something, and when I do reviews, I always forget something. I want to talk about these finger choils here. Okay, funky little design. Finger choils are definitely hit and miss, and there's only been a few knives in my lifetime that I've had that I did not like the finger choils. And this one, I'm not a huge fan because they don't happen to line up with my fingers on my hand how I would like them. My fingers are spread apart. They're forced to be spread apart a little bit because of the choils. If I don't spread them apart, this hump in the middle digs into my middle finger, just like you see here. Okay, this is how I want to hold a knife. And I can be spread just a little bit, but it's too much of a spread. So for me, it's not as comfortable as it could be. Okay, it's not uncomfortable. It's not hurting me by any means, but it's not my preferred feeling. Okay, so I can definitely say ergonomics will vary depending on your hand style. And that's the kind of pros and cons you get with these finger choils. It may feel amazing to you and really lock into your hand and you feel really secure, but the guy next to you with the big meat mittens, he's not going to like it. Or Tiny Jim over on the other side of you who can't have the Burger King Whopper because his hands are too small. That kind of a thing. So it's tricky. That's something I can't explain it's going to be good for you or it's not going to be good for you. That's something where if you have the availability to go to a knife shop to hold it before you purchase it, that's great. But the cool thing about knives in our community as a whole is trading and the forums. It's amazing because you could buy this knife because I said it's pretty cool and you have the same problem that I have where it's not really as comfortable. Big deal. Sell it on the forums. Trade it for something else. You could buy 20 knives, all right, and just keep trading them for years and years and never have to spend a penny with knives. Do you know that? Think about that. You get 20 good, high-quality knives, and you'll never have to buy a knife again. If you get sick of one of them, you trade off for something else. You know, you get something new you really like. All right, so you want to keep it more than the other one, you trade something else off. And you get, you know, it's a back and forth. You can do that for years and years. When I was younger, when I was like 13 to 15, I didn't buy a single knife. I traded non-stop. I did not spend a penny on knives. So anyway, now I am drawing this out. But I got my points across. Everything I wanted to say, I've mentioned. It's still a fantastic knife. So highly recommended if you can find one and you can afford it and you happen to like the design. If you do own this knife, please, by all means, do a video response. You can attach it to this one so everyone can see it, hear your opinions on it, and that's pretty much it. That's all she wrote, folks. So thanks for watching. As always, I really hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take it easy.